The Brown family are to me the original sister wives, and it sounds like they're pretty much done with being the original sister wives. That's what I want to talk about today. Okay, so Cody and his 4 wives, I can't remember all of their names off the top of my head, but Cody and his 4 wives, this episode was shot as COVID was starting, okay? So everything is recently shut down, and the family is trying to figure out how to keep this virus from spreading throughout all of the families. So, should they all live under one roof, which is impossible because they don't all live under one roof now or then? They didn't all live under one roof. Everybody has their own house. Each family is a separate entity. Or should Cody be the only one who goes from house to house to house? Then the wives are like, well, if he goes from house to house to house, there are some of the wives, 1 or 2 in particular, who are like,
well, then I won't see Cody for 2 months, I won't see Cody for 3 weeks, I won't see Cody for this amount of time, and it's really hard not to see him for that long a time, but at the same time, it's really hard in my house when he's there.
seriously? Like, what do you want? You can't have your cake and eat it. Either he stays in one house, which is not fair to the other 3 wives. Mind you, it's not 3 other wives because Mary says that she and Cody don't have the same husband and wife relationship anymore because their kids are grown. Typically, once your kids are grown, unless husband and wife live under the same roof, and even sometimes when they do, once the kids are grown and moved out, the relationship changes. And that seems to be what's happened between Mary and Cody. They really don't have a relationship. Out of her own mouth, they don't have a husband and wife relationship anymore. So yeah, he doesn't have to worry about actually going and visiting her because she's kind of like, yeah, whatever, I could take it or leave it. We don't interact that way anymore. So they decide that they're not good at communicating with each other. So Janelle sets up this meeting, and so they can talk about how well or how poorly they communicate with each other, and they can learn to communicate with each other better. After all this time, if you guys haven't figured out how to communicate, like one of you has, two of you have grown children, 3 of you have grown-ass children who are at least in their teens. 2 of them are graduating from high school. And yeah, one of them has like kids who are younger, but you've been together this long and you don't know how to communicate yet? What? So anyways, there's some frustration with them and the whole communication thing, which quite frankly, I found bored the shit out of me. And so they get to the point where they're talking about how difficult it is to be in a plural marriage. And Cody is talking about how difficult this plural marriage is. Like, dude, has it not been always this difficult? Having one spouse is difficult. You thought having 4 would be easier? I don't get that. And then they're having a meeting, and he says that the family has become an obstacle to his goals. The family has become an obstacle to his goals, and he's in polygamy hell. Dude. He even says that he's starting to wonder if these 4 women wouldn't be happier being married to other men. So, hold up a second. You made this bed with 4 women, and you expect someone else to lie in it. Really? These are your wives. You married them. You chose them. You married them. You impregnated them all, and they all have your children, and now you're wondering whether or not they would be happier being married to other men. Oh, Lord Jesus, have mercy. Really? This is man thinking. I know it sounds... Come on, dude. Like, figure out what it'll take. Like, shit or get off the pot. Either you guys all want to stay together or you all want to split up. But I can't see how being in a polygamist family would be easy. And Cody actually says the words, "I don't care anymore." The Browns are all frustrated with, the state of their family. They're all talking about the fact that COVID could destroy their family. They're all of one mind when they think that the family is falling apart. So they're already at odds with each other. And then Christine decides, okay, so in February of 2020, Utah changed the polygamy law so that polygamy is no longer a crime. It is like the equivalent of a traffic ticket, okay? So Christine hears this and decides that,
Oh, you know what? Maybe we should move back to Utah.
she wants to move back to Utah in the worst possible way, and she brings it up to Cody, who says the other wives are not going to go for it. He doesn't want to do it. And then he says, you know what? He would love to, but it's just not possible, right? Which is fair. Moving is a bitch when you're moving one house. But when you're trying to move four families, and they just moved to Arizona, okay? So he brings up the fact that when they were in Vegas, they didn't want to move to Utah, but they ended up moving to Utah. He convinced them to move to Utah, and then they hated Utah because they love Utah, but the law was, their family was really sketchy because of the law. So they moved to Arizona, buy a huge piece of property, and now the law in Utah changed and Christine wants to move back. So Cody decides it felt to me like he was almost trying to trick her into thinking that, yeah, I would love to do it. If you can get the other wives on board, let's do it, right? It kind of felt like, and he said, you know what, it's fine. I let her bring it up with the other wives so that I'm not the demon. Okay, cool. So she brings it up to the other wives, and the other wives are kind of like, what would you expect the other wives would say? They would say, no, I don't want to move back. They don't want to move back. Even though the law has changed, it's not going to be good for their children because they're still going to be demonized there. Like, the law changing means nothing, right? It's only been like when they record it, the law just changed, right? Like a month or two prior. When this was recorded, the law had just changed. So nobody is on board. Nobody wants to be packing up and moving back to the place they just left. And because they don't want to move, Christine gets all teary and can't understand why they don't want to move. What the fuck? Are you kidding? Moving is a huge pain in the ass when you're moving one house. She wants to move four, and she's chapped because they don't want to do it. In addition, her father lives in Utah and he's not well. So she has the added benefit of, she wants to be with her dad, and she wants her dad to be around her kids. She wants her kids to get to know her dad, but it's still a huge, massive, ridiculous undertaking to pack up everything, pack up four houses and move back to where you just came. Come on, Christine. Like, Cody actually says,
I think she's smoking something.
Like, what? Seriously? That's not a serious suggestion. But yeah, anyways, they're all at odds. Nobody wants to stay married. I'm not thinking that they will actually all split up, because that's big. If the Browns split up, that's big. Like 4 sister wives all split up. But Cody just sounds like he wants out. Janelle sounds like she wants out. Mary isn't really a consideration because she's kind of on the outskirts. She's not really she's not really a consideration, sort of. Do you know what I mean? Like, she's there in body, but I feel like mentally, she's not really there. I don't know. But it'll be interesting to see how this pans out. If they actually stay together, or if they all, because Cody is checked out. He is completely checked out, which I think is bullshit, because, dude, this was your idea. Anywho's, that's all I got for Sister Wives and the Browns. My name is Debbie. This is Shiality TV, and I will see you next time. Peace.